Hello everyone, welcome back, and welcome to another Hangar Showdown guide. In the last episode, we talked about the perfect setup for this mode, and today we'll wrap up the series with some tips and tricks that will help you win matches, at least when the matchmaking is somewhat fair. Stick around. Friends, I'm glad you tuned in. Hangar Showdown is still a relatively new mode, so I want to share some behaviors and tips that can increase your chances of winning. First of all, the order in which you pick your mechs. Personally, I believe you should always start the round with your strongest mech. In my case, that's the Eclipse. Since you can't know which mech your opponent will start with, Eclipse is the best option thanks to its immunity to debuffs, which makes it a reliable choice and often secures the first round. After that, I usually go with Deathwalker. Its ability allows me to respawn if I get destroyed, while the ability is active. This not only helps correct your own mistakes, but it's also a great way to outplay your opponent. Then I go for Surge, and if needed, Hemlock and Nomad afterwards. Of course, everyone has to decide for themselves which order works best depending on their setup. The important thing is to have a clear sequence that you're comfortable with. Picking mechs randomly without a system is almost guaranteed to lose you the match in Hangar Showdown. Whether or not you strictly stick to your sequence depends heavily on your teammate. If your teammate is much weaker, I recommend staying true to your own order. However, if your teammate is on your level, it can make sense to adjust your sequence in favor of the team setup. For example, if you see that your teammate has already picked Eclipse, it doesn't make much sense to pick the same one, even though it would normally be my first choice. Instead, go with Surge or Deathwalker. If you're too rigid and can't judge when to stick to your own sequence, or when to adapt to your teammates' choices, things can backfire very quickly. During the actual match, there are two things to keep in mind. First, stick together. Lone wolf plays are often punished with a lost round. It can work out if your opponent makes the same mistake, or is much weaker. But if they know what they're doing and have similar equipment, going solo is almost always a recipe for losing. Second, play defensively at the start. If you don't know the opponent, take your time to observe how they move and behave on the field. Don't be afraid to play for time either. Very often, the team that loses patience first also loses the round. Of course, all of these tips only really work if matchmaking is balanced, which unfortunately isn't always the case in Hangar Showdown right now. Still, I hope my tips were helpful to you. Don't forget, experience and practice will always play a big role. See you in the next video, and until then, take care.